I have
Even
never
with a
thought
bank
of it in a
account.
brain budget. Yeah.
Yes, and this is crucial because we only have so much in our bank account, our mental bank account. And depending on how many deposits we make and how many withdrawals we make,
And deposits would be like the good food,
get sleep.
the good sleep, all those sorts of things. And then
Sure.
the
Yeah.
withdrawals are what?
Every time you make a decision, there's like a ticker. We make about 35,000 decisions a day.
Wow.
And women probably make more than that. than
That's
that.
probably true.
Just getting dressed in the morning.
Right,
We
exactly.
got earrings, we've got lipstick, we got makeup, we got
Yeah.
shoes. The decision matrix is before we leave the door, it's already
Yes.
much higher in terms of all the withdrawals that we have to
Yeah.
make. And
Wow.
our world right now also is throwing information at us.
Hello, my extraordinary women friends. In a world that's moving faster than ever, one of the most radical things we can do as women is tend to the health of our brain and nervous system, not just for resilience, but for clarity, for presence, and for power. Because when our minds are regulated and our systems are supported, we make clearer decisions. We create from alignment. We show up rooted, not reactive, and that changes everything. Today's guest, Neeli Clute, is a visionary neuroeducator who helps people do exactly that. She bridges the science of neuroplasticity with deep inner wisdom to help us rewire the unconscious patterns that keep us small and step fully into who we're meant to be. Neeli is one of our incredible speakers at Ignite this November, and I can't wait for you to learn from her. She'll be sharing how to harness the infinite capacity of your brain, release outdated conditioning, and create the inner foundation for the life and business you truly want. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, head to CamiGellner.com/ignite and join us. Early bird tickets are available right now. In our conversation today, Neeli and I explore how our thoughts, our emotions, and past conditioning shape the way we lead, create, and connect. She shares powerful insights about the brain's adaptability, the importance of the nervous system regulation, and how small shifts in awareness can create profound change. It's a conversation that will leave you feeling both empowered and deeply seen. Now, let's meet Neeli Clute. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Neeli. I am so excited to have you here today.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's a real honor to be one of your guests on this podcast. It's just such an incredible gift that you offer to women
thank you.
around the world. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. And I'm even more excited that you're going to be at Ignite this year in November because I've wanted to have your topic at Ignite for a long time. And I know I've said that to you in the past, but it feels like this year is like the perfect year that you're bringing, all of this brain science to the room, and so that we can really talk about this.
Yes, I love Ignite. Every single year, there is such a beautiful combination of wisdom that comes together. And then being able to sit with women at the table to listen to and then act upon the information that we have in the way that you so beautifully coordinate all of that with us and guide our application of what we just heard too. I really, really appreciate that as well. It's a beautiful event. I feel very honored to be invited.
But I think, your topic right now is just spot on for these times too, right? I think that's what's even more perfect.
It absolutely is. And I really started understanding this fully right before COVID. And I was predicting that it was going to be tech that caused an extremely rapid moment, a pivot right before COVID. And it has now with AI, which is it's going to continue to happen. But in the 1980s, military strategists were asked by world leaders to predict what the world would be like in the 21st century. And they came up with an acronym called VUCA, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I am familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell everybody.
Yes, it I think it describes things well. V is for volatility, U
Hmm.
is for uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which I think could apply to COVID and the new AI revolution that's
Right.
going on as
Right.
well. But the
Yeah.
bottom line with all of that is that you really need to be adaptable to be able to negotiate that, and versatile and on the top of your game to be able to negotiate what the world is bringing to us right now. Almost all of us are in the knowledge sector now,
Hmm.
where we
Hmm.
need our cognitive skills. And part of the reason that struck a chord with me is that we really need to be able to adapt quickly. And luckily, we have the software that will do that through a process called neuroplasticity, which is absolutely miraculous in how it can transform your brain.
Yeah.
But there are a few hiccups in there in terms of how it's structured, how you can optimize that to the best of your ability. And so it's really helpful to have the information of how your brain works in
Yeah.
transforming and rewiring. Otherwise, it's throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
And
So if you can understand what's happening in our brains, and where I got exposed to some of this was I did the inner MBA, Sounds True inner MBA last year. So that's where the whole VUCA came up in my
yeah,
world. And I just ate that up. I was like, 'cause, it was just, there was so much going on around us. And I was like, okay, yes, I totally feel this. I understand that why this is so important. And I was just noticing even my own nervous system had the impact that was happening around me. So learning about neuroplasticity is something that I started, playing with in the last couple of years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Before we dive into this, let's hear a little bit more about your story of how you found this body of work, and like, what was your pathway into working with this body of work?
I have always absolutely loved the human body in terms of
Hmm.
just the miraculous creation. It's been very curious about it, and in particular, the brain. And I
Hmm.
was in a class in high school actually where you
Wow.
got to extract the brain of a shark
Oh,
as
wow.
part of your as part of your grade.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure if you realize, a lot of people don't. Most of a shark is made out of cartilage, except for the jaw and the teeth, of course, which are quite sharp.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No,
we
I didn't know
had
that.
to, yeah, so we had to shave away the cartilage, and you could see it was very translucent as you were getting closer and closer. And it's very delicate and fragile, so you had to be extraordinarily careful. But I kind of ended up in this really deep thought process of what that brain does for us and how it is so pivotal, and it's the center of everything that happens in every living
Hmm.
creature, really, is that nervous
Hmm.
system. So I got
Hmm.
a lot more interested in that and ended up getting a degree in neurobiology and physiology with
Hmm.
the goal of doing the traditional thing of going into medicine and being Dr. Clute.
Yeah.
I was actually interested in doing reconstructive surgery, craniofacial reconstructive surgery, which has a different story to it. But as I was approaching time to apply for medical school, I had been doing an internship with a surgeon in Jackson Hole, Wyoming over the summer. And he sat me down and he said, I love what I do, but if you were my daughter, I wouldn't want you to go into medicine. And I was
Mm.
shocked by that. And I
Right.
thought,
Right.
why? Why on earth would you say that to me? And he just smiled and he said, go work in a hospital for a while and you'll see what I mean. So that's exactly what I did. And I worked in
Hmm.
a tertiary care hospital in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And they had a very high level transplant program. They had a children's hospital. They had every kind of ICU, PICU, NICU that you could possibly think of. And I
Hmm.
think I worked in all of them except OR and ER. And I began to see what he meant. I think he saw in me that I wanted more and maybe a little bit different, and also
Mm-hmm.
the pure bureaucracy that a lot of doctors have to deal with as well. And the fact that I was also at the time, and my children's father was in medical school as well. And so that would have meant two doctors in the same family. And how do you do that? I
Right.
thought, is there any way that I can still utilize all this really great information, still be present for my family, and not have to have my children raised by a nanny,
Right.
which is fine for some people, but I personally wanted to be there and be a part of it. So I fell in love with the children in the children's hospital, and I thought, really deep thought experiment, because I thought, I don't want to go 15 years of training and then regret that
Right.
I am not where I want to be. So when I really sat down and thought about it, it made so much sense that I would go and use my knowledge in neuroscience towards teaching. So I got my
Okay.
degree in science education and ended up working with a lot of neurodiverse children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I saw transformations there. I had incredible mentors that showed me techniques of how to differentiate learning for differently wired minds.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Mm-hmm.
powerful because it didn't just help those children, it helped all of them. Even the
Mm.
gifted students needed to be able
Mm-hmm.
to utilize their unique brain in the best way that worked for them. And you had to give them the opportunity and the tools to be able to. So when I saw these kids who were considered burnouts, dropouts, excelling because they were given different opportunities to approach it in a way
And
they
different
understood.
tools.
Yeah. For example, mitosis and meiosis, is cell division, is often difficult for kids because it involves genetics, it involves things you can't see, it's very abstract. And when I gave them the opportunity to approach it however they wanted to, I had a student who was pretty much failing every class he had, who was incredibly artistic, create a cartoon strip of the process that was incredibly beautiful and
Mm-hmm.
in just its detail. And he
Mm-hmm.
knew it backwards and forwards. He just needed to be able to express it in that way instead of a multiple choice
Yeah.
option. So
Yeah.
being able to really understand your own mind, how minds work in general, but then distill that down, is something that's really super powerful. And I have seen it work and transform kids who basically were given up on by most of society.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was a powerful insight.
Yeah. I love this. And so how did it eventually really help shape you? I mean, what was some of this that, the transformation that came from this work that helped you like embody that work?
I could see the gaps in our standard education. As good as my mentors were, we were kind of
Hmm.
fighting against a system that wasn't built well for
Hmm.
that kind of mind. I also saw that there's a lot we knew about the brain that we weren't utilizing in the classroom, and that was
Hmm.
frustrating. So I
Hmm.
started creating my own little mini brain academies and wanted to expand that, and came across a um, neurologist who'd figured out the same thing, except that she went back and got her education degree after being a neurologist and started doing much the same thing. She wanted me to come study with her in California, but I was on the East Coast at the time. And she's like, well, that's okay. There's a couple there because this is a cutting edge field. There's one at Harvard and there's one at Johns Hopkins, and that happened to be close to me. So I applied to there and I got a degree in mind, brain, and teaching. And
Hmm.
what I discovered in that was that there's an awareness or an awakening of that connection between this brain that we're kind of just watching to see what it does and trying to figure out, and what we can do with it, how we can
Yeah.
optimize it and leverage it. Um, in the course of that, I started working with teachers and
Hmm.
teaching them how to design curriculum that works well for kids that had different kinds of brains, and realized that also applies to grown-ups. And we didn't really get a chance to know all that either. So a
Right.
friend of
Right.
mine suggested corporate, and that yeah, you know, the rest of us need this too. And so I started doing corporate wellness talks and health talks, and how to optimize and leverage your brain, and how to get into the topics that really make a difference in
Yeah.
how you show up every day.
Yeah,
So,
I love that. So, so many of us are entrepreneurs, our listeners, you, myself.
yeah.
As we start to think about neuroplasticity, tell us more about what this means and how it can really apply to us as women entrepreneurs.
Okay. Your brain is a very vital organ that is constantly changing,
Mm-hmm.
whether we are participating actively or not. So, your brain at the end of today is going to be different from when you woke up this morning.
Oh, interesting.
So, if you watch it under a microscope, it's amazing because you see all of these little dendrites coming on, and it's based on activity. So, thoughts, emotions, and behavior, actions, all of those things consolidate your learning, rewire, or go on top of what's already there, or can create new wiring every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you meet a new person, every time you have a new conversation, every time you learn something new, there's this beautiful activity that's going on that is sculpting your mind and it's
Nice.
transforming it. So you have to ask yourself, how do I want it to transform?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I want my mind to be to the end of the day, the end of the year, or 10 years in the future? And the thing about that that's super important is that we're starting to understand there's some major threats out there that we can manage if we get ahead of it through lifestyle and
Yeah.
through understanding that. So I'm talking about dementia as well as things like Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt was just
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with that. So I know a
Mm.
little bit about that. And other things that we're starting to become aware of, like microplastics in our environment. We don't completely understand what threat that poses,
So tell
but
us what that is. I'm not sure I know what that is.
okay. Um, because we have created so much plastic through
Mm.
industries, that it's everywhere. They talk about the plastic ocean. We have plastic bottles that are
Yeah.
thrown in the ocean. And what happens when you have items in the ocean, if you're ever snorkeling, you can see that they will chew on it. So they're not sure what it is. So they're chewing on it. So it's getting broken down into small bits. And so it's gotten into sea salt. It's gotten into beer. It's gotten into a lot of our water
Wow.
sources, especially filter feeding organisms. If you like
Uh-huh.
mollusks of any kind that you
Mm-hmm.
tend to consume, it's also in often on our rice. It's in our clothing. It's in our lotions, and we breathe it in as well when it gets small
Right.
enough.
Right.
So I think they estimate we breathe about a credit card's worth a day, just breathing.
Wow. Now I have heard
Yeah,
of this, but I didn't realize that's a lot. I mean,
that's a
that's you
lot.
think of that size that we're breathing that in. Hmm.
Yeah. So we don't exactly know. We're seeing some detrimental effects in some other species. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have concrete data yet on how it's affecting humans, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something you always need to be aware of environmental threats to your health. And that's
Right.
just one of
That's
many.
one of them. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and a
Interesting.
lot of it can be modified by our behavior. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So when you talk about, I mean, and even some of the other part of that is like the negative thoughts that we have, that can be part of this as well. That can
Oh,
be
yeah.
something that really comes into to creating channels is what I kind of think of on our brain. If we keep thinking the same thought over and over and over, that starts to shape in the brain. Am I saying that accurately?
You absolutely are. That becomes your reality. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we're finding out through neuroscience is that so very much of what's going on in our brain is in the unconscious level. So if you think of it like an iceberg, where you just
Mm-hmm.
have 10% of the tip showing, there's a whole
Mm-hmm.
lot underneath we don't necessarily understand, that exists and is
Yeah.
causing things to float. So we need to take diving lessons and learn how to bring some of that unconscious to awareness, because
Mm-hmm.
we can become more aware of it, because your brain
Yeah.
is very, very predictive. So if you're having thoughts that are negative, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to start transforming your brain to expect negative. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah. It
One
does.
story that was just crazy, I'd heard about this, is there was a man who was a soldier, and he had been working with the guerrilla fighters, and then conscripted by, I think it was in, I'm not sure if it was in Vietnam, it was an Asian country. But he was going through the jungle looking for guerrilla fighters with a troop of men. And he saw a leader with a gun, and he was
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to shoot this leader with the gun. And someone put a hand on his shoulder and said, "It's just a boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a boy." And he's like, "What?" And so he kind of, shook, and it was a goat herd with a staff and a bunch of goats. And he thought it was a guerrilla fighter with a gun and soldiers, because that's what his brain was predicting he
Mm.
would see.
So how
And it
fast we can
bothered
jump to
him.
something. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So your brain is very much designed on prediction, because really what drives it is your body budget. So it's trying
Right.
to save energy and anticipate, for survival reasons, what might be coming down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So you about 80 to 90% of what you carry forward in a day is based on the past predicted reality that your mind has created.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is something that is very, very fundamental in how you behave and how you see the world. And you
So
can
knowing
transform
these,
that.
yeah. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go there, because knowing that our brains are, we can transform our brains, we can work with our brains, we can, work with what patterns we've built for ourselves.
Yeah.
What do women entrepreneurs need to know? What can they do to help really become aware of what's going on in their own brain? What stories, what patterns are there? And then
Yeah.
start to shift that. What are some of the things that women can do?
I've created a framework to help
Mm-hmm.
accomplish just that. And I think what you do need to create systems, as any entrepreneur needs, if you want to be successful in accomplishing something, you have to put something into a system that works well for you, and to a
Mm-hmm.
framework. So I've done all of the years of research and into what's needed to really support and foster not only the health of your brain in terms of the biological health, but also the emotional health. And we're starting to understand that those are not separate from each other. They are integrated. So
Interesting.
by being able to put the system into place that hits not just a few of the things we know we're supposed to do, like sleep
Mm-hmm.
well and exercise and eat well and drink water, right? It's not just
Right.
that. It's more than that. Yes, those
Mm-hmm.
are the big rocks that you want to address, but then you also have other pieces that allow you to go into that unconscious level by using mindfulness practices, by leveraging interaction, because we affect each other's body budgets as well. And we choose who we surround ourselves with. And
Right.
when you really truly understand, it's not just, who you're stuck with, but it is influencing your body and your brain budget to
Because your brain has, when you say budget,
characteristic.
it basically has so much capacity that it can work with. Um,
Yes. If you
and on
think of
any
it like
given day, there's so
financial
much it can
system.
take, right? Yeah,
Yes.
because I
Think of
have
it like
never
a
thought
bank
of it in a
account.
brain budget. Yeah.
Yes. And this is crucial because we only have so much in our bank account, our mental
Mhm.
bank account. And
Mhm.
depending on how many deposits we make and how many
Mhm.
withdrawals we make,
And deposits would
um,
be like the good food,
good sleep,
the good sleep, all those sorts of things. And then
sure.
the
Yeah.
withdrawals are what?
Every time you make a decision, there's like a ticker. We make about 35,000 decisions a day.
Wow.
And women probably make more than that.
That's
Women.
probably true.
Just getting dressed in the morning, right?
Right,
We
exactly.
got earrings, we've got lipstick, we got makeup, we got
Yeah.
shoes. The decision matrix is before we leave the door, it's already
Yes.
much higher in terms of all the withdrawals that we have to
Yeah.
make. And our
Wow.
world right now also is throwing information at us. And so we're having
Totally.
to pay attention, not pay attention. I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to look at that. So there's all this barrage of about 11 million bits of information that hit you per minute.
Wow.
And you can only process about 50.
Okay.
So you have to choose wisely and be very
Mhm.
careful about where you're putting your energy and very strategic about
Mm.
where you're doing that.
What a good
How
lesson
can
for right now.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So there's a lot of great ways to do that, but you want to be abundant in your budget. You want to
Mhm.
have, you don't want to be in the red zone all the time or even on that fine razor line of exhaustion, which is what we tend to
Mhm.
do because we have this superhero complex and we end up with broken brain syndrome because we
Mhm.
just start misfiring. We're
Right.
there. It doesn't matter how small or big those decisions are, they
Right.
count.
Right. Right. That's fascinating. So really paying attention to that brain budget, what's coming into our brain and what's that environment that we're allowing to be created because we're making choices that allows these different things in or not. It's
Mhm.
it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So tell us more what people are going to be learning at Ignite and what you'll be teaching at Ignite.
Well, this is going to be a big part of it. I'm going to go
Hmm.
into more detail about the environment that we're in, especially with tech. I do a lot of
Hmm. Oh
speaking
yeah.
events to tech companies, and they
Yeah.
want to
We're
know
sitting in front of computers all day long, right?
yes. And our brains weren't designed to deal with all of that kind of input. If you think
Hmm.
about it, we don't stare straight at the sun all day long
Yeah.
and not expect our eyes and brain to be affected. And we
Hmm.
have, light from our screens coming into our eyes and therefore
Mm.
brain all day
Yeah.
long. And there's all sorts of things trying to get your attention because it's attention management in order to really be able to support a healthy brain that can
Hmm.
operate at its optimal level. And then you also have this evolving brain that changes as we get older and
Hmm.
as our hormones start changing.
Hmm.
Our that all plays a role.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping to focus on is mental bandwidth is limited, and we
Yeah.
have to stop thinking about it as being infinite because we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
We need to give it honor and grace and understand that there is a limit to it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you have to be very strategic about how you utilize it,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially
You
as
know
I'm.
what I've discovered is just the awareness that I've found in my nervous system. So I'm just because that's where I put a lot of my own, study was around my nervous system because I could feel my nervous system getting just too wired. I mean, there was too much going on, but I think it's all tying right back to the brain is what I'm hearing is
Yes,
that's
it's the
it's an
CEO of
intricate
you.
part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So you have to keep building that intellectual IQ as well as the emotional IQ. And building also the me cue. Like,
Yeah.
who
And
am
it
I?
was such an, like, when I first started learning about it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been feeling. And that, and I started making different choices.
Yeah.
And it's been a really interesting journey for me to go down that pathway of making different choices and recognizing when I would start to feel that, just that tension that would be built up, and
How did you
becoming more
experience the
aware.
shift once you became more
It's
aware and
really,
started changing
yeah,
your behavior? Did
and
that make
it's
a
not
difference?
something that you just pull the switch and then it's just forever changed, right? It's like it's a
No.
continuum that you have to
Yeah.
remember every single day. And in fact, I just wrote about, this week, I wrote a blog on, a question. Tracy Litt, somebody who's been on Extraordinary Women Radio, asked a question. I went to one of her online retreats and she asked the question, what am I holding?
Mm.
What are you holding? And that question just resonated with me so much as I started to think about what I could just feel the things that I was holding. Like, I was holding up, my success. I was holding up my client's success. I was holding up, all sorts of things to all the way to, my reputation, I mean, which I go, I roll on that one. Right. And, but it's like, what are you holding and the energy that it takes to hold something. Right. And so, again, what it takes to hold is like, you've got all this input coming into your nervous system, into your brain. And I was like, okay, let this go. I don't need to hold anything. And
No,
is
that's
that
withdrawal.
feeling of release was like, oh, it felt so good.
That's energy
Yeah.
withdrawal from your mind and
Yeah.
your body.
Yeah.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, it's such an evolution of me always learning on this. And I'm always, learning something new about this. And then I think, okay, I'm doing better. And then I have an experience and go, oh, I have so much to learn. So
Isn't that the beauty of being older is you realize you don't know everything.
yeah, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
just, and it's so much fun to
Yeah.
have those epiphanies, the new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. 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 Um, so where can people learn more about you and your work besides coming to
You
Ignite?
come to Ignite. Number one, definitely do that. I do have a website that's neeliclute.com or
Mm-hmm.
agileintellectneuro.com. And I tend to do mostly private speaking events with companies, but
Mm-hmm.
I would love to expand that and offer this to people who would be interested in coming to learn a program because it's not something you can do overnight.
No.
So
No.
the framework does take some, it's not, I've designed it in a way that it's not so much on your plate that it doesn't feel like, oh gosh, another workout I've got to
Yeah.
incorporate. It's not like that. It is designed to slowly, because slow change is most effective and is most
Mm-hmm.
sustainable. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what really, really works. So I'm designing a program that will also be offered, I'm hoping this fall,
Mm-hmm.
um, by the end of 2025 for sure, that will allow people to come in and become part of a healthy brain initiative. And
Nice.
if it's a 12-week program, so there's
Mm-hmm.
that. But you can also just follow me on, sign up, subscribe to my email list, and you will be getting brain tips every month. But if you
Yeah.
really want a sustainable system that I can walk you through step by step by step in a way that I know works to create
Mm-hmm.
neurological feedback loops
Mm-hmm.
that aren't going to frustrate you in the midst of everything else you're doing, because that's the world we live in right now. We
Yeah.
have to be very, very careful. And I'm not going to be a withdrawal. I'm a depositor
Yeah.
of
I
brain
like
health.
that.
That is my goal. I'm building brain wealth.
I love it. You're depositing. I love that so much.
Yes.
Okay. So the final question I always close with are, what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with us today?
Hmm. I would like to let you know that Your brain is not just a compass for you. It is the architect of your future.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every day, your mind is going to be completely different than it was the day before.
Yeah. It's so
And
fascinating.
you're in charge of a lot of that. And a lot of times we just let life carry us and we just kind of go with the flow and we run as fast as we can on that treadmill without recognizing that we need to be highly strategic about how we're designing our world and in such that it's sustainable practice for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we hear
Mm-hmm.
about burnout all the time. It's real and there's a reason for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be I guess the big pearl
Yeah.
is, yeah,
That's a big
is
one. It's
that
a good one.
that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that you are the architect, your brain is the architect of your future. And what do
Yeah.
you want your future to look like?
Yeah. Do you
Because
have
you
two
want a
more
big
for us?
fluffy brain that's going to last and it's going to last as long as your body and be in good shape. Because Alzheimer's is on the rise. It's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to triple by 2050.
Mm. Wow.
And
Oh,
so
wow.
we need to not only take care of our brain now, but for bank
For our future.
for the future.
Okay. Do you have any other pearls for us?
That's the big one. Oh, yes. There's this really great conference that's coming up in November that
Come
I would
join us.
highly recommend that you come and build your brain bank with.
I love
I
it.
always come away so enriched and feeling like I have just won a little bit of a lottery by coming in and getting all of these bits of wisdom and being able to congregate, because honestly, we influence each other so much when you're around
Mm,
the right people, and you
yeah.
have a beautiful community that you have built for that.
Thank you, Neeli.
So if you don't have
Well,
tickets, get some.
yeah, definitely. That's a good pearl. I'll take that pearl. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And it's been fun just learning more today. And I can't wait to keep learning more from you. So thank you.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for
Okay.
having me.
You bet.